Movies have the power to move us, to inspire us, and sometimes, to leave us completely stunned. Every once in a while, a film ends in a way no one expects, a sudden twist, a painful truth, or a quiet revelation that changes everything we thought we knew. These are the moments that make theaters fall silent, when the screen fades to black and the audience can't even breathe. In this video, we'll explore 10 movie endings that shocked the world, finales so unforgettable they turned simple stories into cinematic legends. From heartbreaking betrayals to mind-bending twists, these films prove that an ending can be more powerful than everything that came before it. So get comfortable, turn up the volume, and let's take a journey through the most shocking moments in movie history. And if you love films that challenge your mind and stay with you long after the credits roll, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because this story is just beginning. Clapperboard number 1, The Sixth Sense, 1999, the twist that redefined modern cinema. When The Sixth Sense hit theaters in 1999, few could have predicted that this quiet psychological thriller would forever change the way we watch movies. Directed by M. Night Shyamalan and starring Bruce Willis and a young Haley Joel Osment, the film follows Dr. Malcolm Crowe, a child psychologist trying to help a troubled boy named Cole, who claims he can see dead people. What begins as a haunting story about fear and trauma slowly unfolds into one of the most mind-blowing twists in film history. For most of the movie, audiences follow Crowe as he attempts to heal Cole's fear and understand the mysterious apparitions surrounding him. Every scene builds tension, the cold breath, the eerie silences, the sense that something unseen lingers nearby. Yet Shyamalan carefully misdirects the viewer, letting us believe that Crowe is alive and working through personal guilt. Only in the final moments do we realize the truth. Dr. Malcolm Crowe is dead, and the boy was truly communicating with spirits all along. That revelation didn't just shock audiences, it redefined storytelling. The twist was so perfectly executed that many returned to the theater just to rewatch every clue they'd missed. Shyamalan's direction, combined with Osment's haunting innocence and Willis's restrained performance, made The Sixth Sense a modern classic. More than 2 decades later, its legacy endures. The phrase, "I see dead people," became a cultural touchstone, quoted endlessly and instantly recognizable even to those who've never seen the film. The ending sparked countless imitators and inspired an entire generation of filmmakers to pursue clever, emotionally grounded twists. But what truly makes The Sixth Sense special isn't just the surprise, it's the emotion behind it. Beneath the ghostly chills lies a story about connection, regret, and the need for closure. Even today, few films manage to blend psychological horror and heartfelt storytelling as seamlessly. The Sixth Sense didn't just end with a twist, it ended with an awakening, both for its characters and its audience. Clapperboard number 2, Fight Club, 1999, the identity twist that broke every rule. When Fight Club premiered in 1999, audiences thought they were getting a story about rebellion, consumerism, and underground boxing. What they got instead was a psychological gut punch that challenged everything they believed about identity, masculinity, and control. Directed by David Fincher and based on Chuck Palahniuk's novel, the film follows an unnamed narrator, Edward Norton, a disillusioned office worker trapped in a life of insomnia and emptiness, who finds meaning through a reckless friendship with the charismatic Tyler Durden, Brad Pitt. Together, they form Fight Club, a secret society where men rediscover raw emotion through violence. At first, Fight Club feels like a commentary on the modern world's emptiness, a sharp critique of how consumer culture numbs individuality. But as the story unravels, Fincher's direction becomes increasingly chaotic, mirroring the narrator's mental collapse. Then comes one of cinema's greatest reveals: Tyler Durden and the narrator are the same person. The two personalities are fragments of the same broken mind, one craving order, the other chaos. That single revelation transformed Fight Club from a gritty underground drama into a philosophical exploration of the human psyche. The twist forces viewers to question not just what they've seen, but also what it means to be free in a society that defines worth through possessions and conformity. Tyler's world, his cult of anarchy and destruction, becomes both thrilling and horrifying, a mirror of the narrator's desperate need for meaning. The ending, where the narrator finally destroys his delusion by shooting himself and watches skyscrapers crumble to the tune of "Where is my mind?", remains one of the most iconic in film history. It's both an ending and a beginning, the collapse of illusion, the rebirth of self. Fight Club wasn't an instant hit upon release, but its impact grew over time. The twist ending became a cultural milestone, influencing countless films and discussions about unreliable narrators and mental instability. Today, it stands as a masterpiece of subversion, a story that punched through the walls of convention and made us question our own reflections. Clapperboard number 3. Say 7 in 1995, the box that shattered our souls. Few endings in movie history have left audiences as stunned or as haunted as Say 7 in. Directed by David Fincher, this 1995 crime thriller follows two detectives, the cynical veteran William Somerset, Morgan Freeman, and the impulsive rookie David Mills, Brad Pitt, as they chase a serial killer who murders according to the 7 deadly sins. The film's bleak tone, relentless tension, and meticulous pacing build toward a conclusion so devastating it became one of the most unforgettable finales ever put to film. For most of its runtime, Say 7 in feels like a grim procedural, intelligent, stylish, and deeply unsettling. Each crime scene is a grotesque puzzle, showcasing the killer's warped sense of justice. But the brilliance of Fincher's direction lies in his restraint. He never glorifies the violence. Instead, he uses it to strip away illusion, revealing the moral decay at the heart of humanity. When John Doe, the calm and eerily logical killer played by Kevin Spacey, finally turns himself in, it feels like victory, until the final act. In the blistering desert sequence that follows, the detectives drive with Doe to recover his final victim. A mysterious box is delivered. Somerset opens it, and what he finds inside changes everything. We never see it, but we know it's the severed head of Mills's wife, Tracy, Gwyneth Paltrow. John Doe confesses that her death represents the sin of envy, while he himself embodies wrath, Mills's wrath. In that horrifying moment, the film transcends crime drama and becomes pure existential tragedy. Mills's breakdown, screaming, "What's in the box?" as the sun burns above him, is both a moment of raw emotion and moral collapse. When he finally shoots Doe, fulfilling the killer's design, he destroys himself, both as a man and as a symbol of justice. Say 7 in ends not with triumph but with despair. Somerset's closing line, quoting Hemingway, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for." I agree with the second part. Captures the essence of the film. Humanity may be broken, but it's still worth saving. To this day, Say 7 in remains a masterclass in storytelling, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful horror isn't what we see, but what we imagine inside that box. Will. Clapperboard number 5. The Usual Suspects, 1995, the greatest trick ever pulled. When The Usual Suspects was released in 1995, few expected it to become one of the most legendary crime thrillers ever made. Directed by Bryan Singer and written by Christopher McQuarrie, the film begins with a familiar setup: 5 criminals brought together in a police lineup for a crime none of them committed. But what starts as a gritty noir tale slowly transforms into one of cinema's most masterful games of deception. The story unfolds through the eyes of Verbal Kint, Kevin Spacey, a timid, seemingly harmless con artist who recounts to a detective how a mysterious figure named Kaiser Soze manipulated the group into pulling off a deadly heist. As Verbal spins his tale, we meet unforgettable characters: Dean Keaton, the ex-cop turned criminal, Fenster and McManus, the loudmouth duo, and Hockney, the hardened veteran. Each twist deepens the mystery surrounding Soze, a criminal mastermind so feared that his name alone inspires terror. Throughout the interrogation, Detective Cugin, Chaz Palminteri, becomes obsessed with uncovering the truth about Soze. Verbal insists he's just a small player, a survivor of something much larger. But the film's brilliance lies in how it hides the truth in plain sight. Every scene, Every line of dialogue is a clue disguised as misdirection. Then comes the final reveal, a cinematic gut punch that redefined storytelling. As Verbal leaves the police station, Kyujin looks around the room and suddenly realizes the horrifying truth. Verbal's entire story was fabricated, pieced together from random words and pictures on the detective's bulletin board. Outside, Verbal's limp vanishes. He lights a cigarette, walks with newfound confidence, and disappears into the crowd. Verbal Kint was Kaiser Soze all along. That ending didn't just surprise audiences, it stunned them into silence. It forced viewers to question everything they'd just seen, turning the entire film into an elaborate illusion. The twist wasn't just clever, it was art. It rewarded close attention while proving how easily perception can be manipulated by storytelling itself. The Usual Suspects remains one of the most brilliant examples of narrative deceit ever crafted. Its ending taught filmmakers that sometimes the most powerful weapon in cinema isn't action or dialogue, it's revelation. Clapperboard number 6, Gone Girl, 2014. The Perfect Marriage. That wasn't. When Gone Girl hit theaters in 2014, it redefined the psychological thriller for a new generation. Directed by David Fincher and based on Gillian Flynn's best-selling novel, the film begins like a typical mystery. A woman named Amy Dunn, Rosamund Pike, goes missing on her 5th wedding anniversary, and her husband Nick, Ben Affleck, becomes the prime suspect. But as the story unfolds, it morphs into something far darker, a disturbing exploration of marriage, media manipulation, and the masks people wear to survive. At first, audiences are led to believe that Nick might have murdered his wife. The clues seem undeniable: his detached behavior, hidden secrets, and a trail of evidence pointing straight at him. The press turns him into a national villain. Yet midway through the film, the story takes a shocking turn. Amy is alive. She staged her own disappearance, meticulously framing Nick as revenge for his infidelity. It's not just a twist, it's a revelation that flips the entire narrative upside down. Through Amy's chilling narration, we learn how she orchestrated everything, faked her death, planted evidence, and manipulated public sympathy. Rosamund Pike's performance is magnetic, calm, intelligent, and terrifyingly controlled. She embodies the cool girl persona society expects women to be, only to weaponize it in the most brutal way imaginable. Fincher turns Amy's revenge into a mirror reflecting modern relationships, where love and resentment can coexist until they destroy everything. The film's ending is as haunting as its twist. After Amy returns home under the guise of being rescued, Nick discovers her deception, but he's trapped. Amy claims she's pregnant, forcing him to stay with her to preserve their public image. Their marriage becomes a living nightmare, two people bound by lies, performing happiness for the world while privately despising each other. Gone Girl doesn't end with resolution, it ends with suffocation. Fincher refuses to offer justice or closure. Instead, he leaves us with a question: how well do we ever truly know the people we love? Its finale shocked not because of blood or violence, but because of how disturbingly real it felt. Gone Girl exposed the dark psychology of relationships and the terrifying power of control. It wasn't a love story, it was a war with no survivors. Clapperboard number 7, Shutter Island, 2010. The truth that drove a man mad. When Shutter Island was released in 2010, audiences expected a stylish psychological thriller, and that's exactly what director Martin Scorsese delivered. But beneath its noir surface, the film hides a devastating truth that transforms everything you think you know. Starring Leonardo DiCaprio as U.S. Marshal Teddy Daniels, the movie follows his investigation into the disappearance of a patient from a remote mental asylum on an isolated island. The stormy atmosphere, the eerie music, and the uneasy performances all build toward one of the most haunting twists in modern cinema. From the start, Shutter Island is designed to disorient. Teddy and his partner Chuck, Mark Ruffalo, arrive at the asylum to question doctors and patients, uncovering hints of dark experiments and government secrets. Teddy is tormented by visions of his dead wife, Dolores, and the man who murdered her. His paranoia deepens, and the island itself begins to feel like a trap, a place where truth dissolves into madness. As the story unfolds, the audience becomes just as confused as Teddy. Is this a conspiracy? A cover-up? Or something far worse? Then, in a masterfully executed twist, Scorsese pulls the rug out from under us. Teddy Daniels isn't a U.S. Marshal at all. He's Andrew Leddy's, a patient at the asylum, committed after murdering his manic-depressive wife when she drowned their children. The entire investigation was a role-play therapy experiment designed to bring him back to reality. That revelation hits like a shockwave. Everything we've seen, every clue, every suspicion, suddenly takes on new meaning. The gunfights, the chase scenes, the hallucinations, all were projections of Andrew's fractured mind. Yet what makes the ending unforgettable isn't the reveal itself, but what comes after. When Andrew appears to regain clarity, he delivers one final, chilling line. Which would be worse, to live as a monster or to die as a good man? It's an ambiguous moment that leaves us questioning whether he truly relapsed or chose to embrace the lie to escape unbearable guilt. Shutter Island ends not with answers, but with silence, a haunting reflection on denial, trauma, and the fragility of the human mind. It's a film that forces us to confront a terrifying truth. Sometimes, the mind will destroy itself just to survive. Clapperboard number 8. Oldboy, 2003. The Revenge That Became a Curse. When Oldboy premiered in 2003, it stunned audiences with its raw emotion, shocking violence, and one of the most disturbing endings in film history. Directed by Park Chan-wook, this South Korean masterpiece tells the story of Oh Dae-soo, Choi Min-sik, a man mysteriously imprisoned in a small room for 15 years without knowing why. When he is suddenly released, Dae-soo embarks on a brutal quest for vengeance, determined to find his captor and uncover the truth behind his lost years. What begins as a straightforward revenge thriller soon transforms into something much darker and more psychological. Dae-soo's journey is relentless. He fights his way through gangsters, uncovers clues about his past, and falls in love with a young woman named Mi-do, who becomes his only source of comfort in a world that has forgotten him. The film's intensity, especially the iconic hallway fight scene shot in a single take, cements its reputation as one of the greatest action sequences ever filmed. But beneath the violence lies an intricate moral labyrinth. As Dae-soo closes in on his tormentor, Lee Woo-jin, Yoo-ji-tae, the horrifying truth finally unravels. This was never about revenge, it was about punishment. Woo-jin reveals that years ago, Dae-soo spread a rumor that destroyed his sister's life, leading to her death. His long imprisonment was vengeance, but the cruelest twist comes next. Woo-jin exposes that Mi-do, the woman Dae-soo has fallen in love with, is actually his daughter. Their relationship was manipulated by Woo-jin's elaborate plan, a symphony of psychological torture designed to break Dae-soo completely. That revelation shatters not just the protagonist, but the audience. In an act of unbearable guilt and despair, Dae-soo cuts out his own tongue, begging Woo-jin for mercy and trying to erase the truth from existence. Yet even that act cannot undo what has been done. The film ends ambiguously, with Dae-soo undergoing hypnosis in an attempt to forget, smiling faintly as the screen fades to white. It's not redemption. It's tragedy disguised as peace. Oldboy is more than a revenge film. It's a meditation on memory, guilt, and the destructive nature of obsession. Its ending doesn't shock for shock's sake. It devastates because it exposes the darkest corners of the human soul. Clapperboard number 9. Avengers, Infinity War, 2018. When heroes lost the battle. When Avengers, Infinity War premiered in 2018, it wasn't just another superhero movie. It was the culmination of a decade of storytelling across the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, the film brought together dozens of beloved heroes: Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and more, to face their greatest threat yet, Thanos, the Mad Titan. But instead of delivering the triumphant victory audiences expected, Infinity War shocked the world with one of the boldest endings in blockbuster history. The film follows Thanos' ruthless mission to collect the 6 Infinity Stones, powerful artifacts that grant him control over the universe. While the Avengers race across galaxies to stop him, Thanos proves unstoppable, driven not by pure evil, but by a twisted sense of balance. His belief that wiping out half of all life will save the universe gives him terrifying purpose. Every battle feels desperate, every loss irreversible. By the final act, the stakes are monumental. On Titan, Iron Man and his team nearly defeat Thanos, while on Earth, the remaining heroes fight to protect Vision and the Mind Stone. But in a devastating turn, Thanos overcomes them all. With a snap of his fingers, the now iconic snap, half of all living beings disintegrate into dust. Heroes vanish before our eyes, Spider-Man begs not to go, Black Panther fades into nothing, and silence fills the screen. The impossible has happened, the villains have won. That ending stunned audiences worldwide. The theater that once roared with excitement sat in utter silence as the credits rolled. It was a cinematic moment that defied every convention of the superhero genre. Instead of hope, Infinity War offered despair. Instead of closure, it left only heartbreak and disbelief. Beyond its spectacle, the ending worked because it carried emotional weight. For the first time, heroes were powerless and audiences felt it. The final shot of Thanos watching the sun rise in peace, content after his horrifying act, became one of the most chilling images in modern cinema. Avengers: Infinity War proved that, even in a world of gods and superpowers, the most shocking thing a story can do is let the heroes lose. Clapperboard number 10, Parasite 2019, when class warfare turned deadly. Bong Joon-ho's Parasite 2019 isn't just a movie, it's a masterclass in storytelling that exposes the brutal divide between the rich and the poor. The film begins as a dark comedy about the struggling Kim family, who cunningly infiltrate the wealthy Park household by posing as qualified workers. But as the story unfolds, what starts as clever deception spirals into something far more disturbing, a raw, violent critique of class inequality that leads to one of the most shocking endings in modern cinema. Throughout the film, the tension simmers under the surface, the Park's oblivious luxury contrasted against the Kims' desperate ingenuity. The revelation of another family secretly living in the Park's basement is the first real jolt, transforming the tone from satire to horror. The parasites aren't just the poor exploiting the rich. Both classes feed off each other, trapped in an endless, toxic dependency. The climax explodes during the Park family's lavish garden party. When the long-suppressed rage of the working class finally erupts, chaos consumes the celebration. In a shocking burst of violence, Ki-taek, the father of the Kim family, snaps after witnessing the Park's casual disgust toward his poverty. In a moment that feels both tragic and inevitable, he murders Mr. Park in front of everyone, then vanishes into the hidden basement, the same place that once symbolized oppression, now is eternal prison. The film's haunting epilogue brings no comfort. Ki-woo, the surviving son, dreams of earning enough money to buy the Park house and free his father. But Bong Joon-ho delivers the cruel truth. The dream is just that, a dream. The camera pans over the same cramped semi-basement apartment, reminding us that the cycle of inequality continues. The ending of Parasite left audiences worldwide speechless. It wasn't a twist for shock value, it was a mirror held up to society. The film forces us to confront a brutal question. In a world built on inequality, who is really the parasite? Parasite made history as the first non-English language film to win the Academy Award for Best Picture, a fitting triumph for a story that transcended borders and class, leaving viewers stunned long after the credits rolled. When the final scene fades to black, what lingers isn't just the story, it's the feeling. The confusion, the awe, the shock that reminds us how powerful a single moment can be. Some endings leave us broken, others leave us enlightened, but the greatest ones never truly end. They live on in our minds, replaying over and over like echoes of a dream we can't forget. These films remind us why we fell in love with cinema in the first place, because sometimes the most unforgettable stories aren't the ones that comfort us, but the ones that challenge us. So if these endings moved you, surprised you, or made you think twice about what's real and what's not, don't just stop here. Like, share, and subscribe for more journeys through the hidden corners of cinema, because every ending is just the start of another story.